Hello, friends, and welcome back to TJKidz Super Fun Stories, where imagination becomes reality. I just want to say how grateful I am for all of the support. It makes me so happy to see so many of you enjoying these stories and sharing them with your families. If you haven't already, make sure to follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you like these stories, please consider leaving a review on Spotify, Apple, or whatever your favorite podcast app happens to be. It really helps more families find us. All right, let's get to today's story. How did this poo get on my shoe? That's a pretty funny title, right? Well, after coming up with that title, I knew this one had to be a rhyming story. It just felt right. So, here it is. I hope you like it. Grab a comfy spot, get cozy, and join me for this adventure. How did this poo get on my shoe? Old Mr. McBlue lived alone in his home, a creaky old cottage at the end of a stone-covered road. He once had a life that was lively and bright, but ever since his dear wife passed, his days lost their light. He grumbled at sunshine, he fussed at the rain, he muttered at neighbors and complained about pain. He scolded the mailman for walking too slow, and shouted at children for playing in snow. His life had grown quiet, his world had grown small, and nothing exciting ever happened at all. Each morning he'd shuffle to fetch the day's news, then sit in his chair with nothing to do. But one chilly morning, while stepping outside, he felt something squishy beneath his old stride. He froze in his tracks. In that moment he knew that he'd just stepped in a pile of warm, sticky poo. And he shouted, "How did this poo get on my shoe? I don't have a dog, and these shoes are brand new. I scrubbed and I scraped, but it sticks like glue. If I find who did this, their owner I'll sue." He stomped back inside with a huff and a glare, scrubbed at his shoe while he muttered in despair. Then he plopped in his chair with the newspaper spread, but nothing felt right in his grumpy old head. The next morning came with a cool little breeze. Mr. McBlue stepped outside with a sniff and a sneeze. He took one small step, then another, then squish. He looked down at his shoe. This was not what he wished. And he shouted, "How did this poo get on my shoe? I don't have a dog, and these shoes are brand new. I scrubbed and I scraped, but it sticks like glue. If I find who did this, their owner I'll sue." He pointed at the neighbors out walking their pets. "You keep your mutts leashed, or I'll put them in nets." But each neighbor promised their dog wasn't loose, and none of them claimed the mysterious poos. The next day arrived with a sky painted gray. Mr. McBlue stepped outside in his usual way. He took 2 small steps, then a third for good measure. Squish, another disaster, another displeasure. And he shouted, "How did this poo get on my shoe? I don't have a dog, and these shoes are brand new. I scrubbed and I scraped, but it sticks like glue. If I find who did this, their owner I'll sue." He stomped toward his house with a feeling of dread. Then he heard something rustle from behind the shed. A shuffle, a sniffle, a soft little sound. He tiptoed to the back, something strange on the ground. There, in a pile of branches and sticks, a mama dog waited, giving her babies gentle licks. 3 tiny pups snugged close to her side, their eyes full of hope they could no longer hide. Mr. McBlue gave an angry stare. "This is my yard, not a bathroom, not that you care. You're the ones who've been making all the poos." He flailed his arms wildly. "No, go on now, shoo!" The mama dog looked up with a soft, pleading stare, but he spun on his heel and marched back to his chair. The next morning dawned with a bright golden hue. Mr. McBlue stepped outside, no poo on his shoe. He sniffed the fresh air. He stretched his arms out wide. "Finally," he cheered, "I can walk outside." But something felt strange as he wandered around. The yard felt too quiet, too still, too unsound. No mystery to solve, no clues to pursue, no reason to fuss, nothing new to do. He sat in his chair with his newspaper spread, but his thoughts drifted back to the pups by the shed. Their tiny round bellies, their wide hopeful eyes. He felt something warm that he couldn't disguise. He stood up abruptly. "I can't sit here all day. Those pups need some help, but I shooed them away." He grabbed his old coat and his worn walking cane. "They might be out there hurting, or scared, or in pain." He walked through the park and the tall grassy field, past flowers and fences and trees that concealed. Then suddenly, squish! He looked down at his shoe. The pups had to be near, that much he knew. And he said, "Ah, I've stepped in poo, and now it's on my shoe. But the feeling I have is something new. This must mean I'm getting close to you. So onward I go with my one-man crew." He followed each squishy, unpleasant clue through bushes and branches as the chilly wind blew. Then deep in the woods he was met with a sight. Mama dog curled up with her pups tucked in tight. He knelt down beside them with tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I wasn't so wise." Then he said, "I've searched and I've searched with my one-man crew. I've stepped in each pile of squishy poo. But now that I'm here, I feel something new. I'm glad that I finally found all of you." The mama dog nudged him, her tail wagging slow. The pups tumbled forward with a tiny hello. And deep in his chest, something warm started to grow, a soft little feeling he once used to know. He carried them home through the soft morning dew, the mama dog close, and the pups followed too. He opened his door with a welcoming grin, and the little dog family all hurried in. He set out some blankets, a bowl filled with food, and the mama's tail wagged in a thankful mood. The pups curled around him, warm, wiggly, and new, and something inside him felt gentle and true. He whispered, "Well now, I suppose it's time to give each of you names, and they all must be different, but kind of the same." He chuckled and smiled as he looked at the mama. "You're sweet as can be, sugar fits you, no fuss and no drama." He lifted the smallest pup onto his lap. "You're Pip," he decided, "a fine little chap. The round-bellied pup gave a happy small hop. "You're bouncy and bold, I'll call you Pop." The last tiny pup had some pep in his step. "Well, that settles that," he said. "Your name will be Pep." Sugar curled close as the pup snuggled too, and old Mr. McBlue felt his whole heart renew. The next morning came with the sun shining through. Mr. McBlue stepped outside and stepped right in poo. But this time he laughed, a deep happy laugh. He grabbed a small shovel and cleaned up the path. And he said, "There's poo on my shoe. Yes, that part is true. But I'm grateful each day for my fun-loving crew. Sugar, Pip, Pop, and Pep, each one of you." Sugar barked proudly. Pip wagged with delight. Pop chased a leaf. Pep tugged his pant leg just right. And old Mr. McBlue, once bitter and blue, found a life full of love and a new family too. The end. And that is the end of our story, friends. Aw, I'm so glad Mr. McBlue found his crew. That makes me happy. What about you? Oh no, it's happening again, and I don't think I can stop. When I write rhyming stories, my mind fills with slop, and I have trouble using words spoken oral. Could you help me out by shouting a moral? Thank you. All better. And I agree. A good moral for today's story is, sometimes the messiest moments lead us to the people we're meant to love. Well, that's it for today, friends. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one. Toodles!